Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
There's always something going on when it comes to astrology, and that's why we call upon her to figure this stuff out for us. We're about to deal with a full moon, a super moon, and it has impact on our astrological signs. What does it all mean? We're going to find out. She is a psychological astrologer, and she's back with us. Carmen Turner-Schott is here. Hey, Carmen, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Love having you back here. And the astrology, I mean, the planets are always moving, so there's always something new, something different going on. Full moons, what is a super moon? What makes it different?
So the super moon, it really has to do with, the different times of the year, with the harvest and, all these things going on. So it's like really we're going into the fall. So we just kind of had what they call the fall equinox. So it's a big time where, things start slowing down, animals start storing their food, we start losing daylight. And it's kind of a time to rest, because we've been go in spring and summer. So it's kind of associated with energy. So the energy of, slowing down, do we change the clocks? We all of these things. And it's more of a time, to be inside, we know, because of the weather, we start getting, the cold weather. And so the super moon in September, it just kind of a season, kind of triggers the new season that we're getting ready to go in. And Aries, the super moon in Aries, full moon tonight in Aries, and it's going to last a couple of days here and affect us. It's been affecting us since Wednesday, really. I find that a full moon's energy affects our emotions and kind of heightens all these feelings, and we feel a little bit anxious, irritable, restless. We may have trouble sleeping, a little bit insomnia, people tell me, right before the full moon. And then tonight it's going to be really powerful. So it's a time to really let go of the past and set your intentions and goals and really tap into healing. A lot of people believe, if you like crystals or stones and things like that, people say it's a good time to charge and cleanse them. You put your stones under the full moonlight, right? And there's all these different things that people do. It's one of the things to cleanse stones besides water, is to sit them out in the moonlight, in the full moon. And so the thing about the moon is, and most people know their sun sign. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I know I'm a Virgo, I'm this or that. But one thing we don't talk a lot about is the moon, because our moon sign, everyone has a moon sign. It's based on the time, date, place of your birth. And we'll know that everybody born on a certain day and year, the moon will be in a certain sign. We can kind of narrow that down easier than having to have a time of birth, even, because we'll know, okay, the moon was in Cancer and then it's moving into Gemini and Cancer. It's right on the cusp. So you'll be able to do a moon calculator online. If people, you just type in, how do I calculate my moon sign? If you don't know your time of birth, you can still find out what your moon sign is based on your month, day, and year. And that moon sign changes the moon changes through the sky every 2 to 3 days. It changes it goes through all the 12 zodiac constellations. So when you're born, the moon sign is your inner nature. It's your emotional nature. It's how you love, where you find happiness, where you find emotional fulfillment, where you find security, comfort. It's kind of like Maslow's, I talk about it in my Moon Signs, Houses, and Healing book in the intro. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is really connected to your moon sign, because some moon signs, depending on what your moon sign is, you want security needs. Like you need to have a roof over your head, food, money, right? The basics. And then as we go up, we have those things. Then our moon sign starts wanting to connect, with other people, be social. We have the social pillar of the pyramid. And then self-actualization is like a connection with the higher power, or spiritual path, So we all are looking, to move up Maslow's pyramid. But the moon sign, I feel, is really connected to that, your ability to do that. Because if your moon sign is in Taurus, for instance, Tauruses are known to like security, money, comfort. And if they don't have a paycheck coming in and they are struggling with reality, they can't focus on other people or taking care of themselves or anything, because they need that basic security to feel comfortable emotionally. And so some signs are cool with change. They're like, for instance, like an Aries moon, they're like, they just wing it, and they're kind of action oriented, and they're like, things, they like change, and they're okay with instability and stuff because it's exciting at times. But a Taurus moon is like, no, I can't even be happy if I don't have security, and comfort. And so, when we talk about the same traits of the sun signs are similar to the moon sign. So, when you find out your moon sign, you'll, resonate with the traits of them, because it's really about how do you self-care? How do you show love? Depending on your moon sign, it affects how you show people your vulnerable side, because a lot of people just see your sun sign and your rising sign, right? That's on the horizon, because that's your mask, is what we call it. But your inner nature, usually that's saved for family, friends, and people that you trust, because people hide that inner moon. They don't come out and show you their emotions. And so every sign has their strengths and their challenges, every moon sign.
I'm surprised here because I thought we got through the Mercury retrograde where things were kind of wonky, and as you identified a little bit more with the one that just passed, which ended around August 23rd. But now we're saying, because of the full moon, more stuff is happening. So wasn't prepared for that.
Oh yeah, this is a really intense time. So the full moon affects everyone's emotional nature. So depending on what sign your moon is in your birth chart, you're gonna either struggle during certain moons, when the moon is in a certain sign, or you're gonna really feel comfortable. So during a full moon, I feel like all of us struggle emotionally during a full moon, because it's affecting the whole world. Even animals. I mean, the tides of the ocean are affected by the full moon. Water, people they feel more bloated. I mean, because our body's made up of mostly water. I have people telling me this. Animals, like my dog, she'll be acting a little different, and then we'll go outside and she'll be kind of looking up at the moon. It's like it affects our children. Children can get more hyper. You'll see them like, what is going on? When I worked in daycare, and I used to work a lot with little kids and stuff, adoption, preservation, and they would just be hyper, and I did like after school programs, and they were like, and I'm like, it's a full moon. It's a full moon. They're arguing, they're fighting more, all these things.
Oh, totally. I can even see it in even my daughter. In the last 2 days, it's been like she's been seems to be more emotional. So is that is that what we're talking about here?
Oh yeah, people react and take offense a little bit quicker because their emotions are on the surface. It's like raw. Like normally, if they would be able to control it, but little things they'll lash out. Yeah, it'll set them off like a trigger. And people that have, unhealed trauma, or if you've had issues with friends or family and you've been suppressing it, and you're like, I'm not going to go there, I'm just going to let it go. This is the time where it's going to pop up and you're going to feel like you have to say something. And this happened to me yesterday. I told myself, I was on a meeting and I had to work, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I told all my friends, I'm like, I'm not going to talk on the call, I'm just going to listen. And because the moon was in Aries, and I'm an Aries moon, that's my moon sign, and it's in Aries right now in the sky, and it's a full moon in Aries. I just felt it quickly rise up. Like that's what happens with Aries moons. It's fast and quick, the emotions. And I just said, can I speak blunt and honestly? And I just laid out like all these issues, and I was just like talking, and people were in the chat. Thank you for sharing. I agree with Carmen. So I'm like, yeah, so people agreed with me, and I felt so good that I expressed myself. I didn't hold back the truth, and I was nice, and I'm very professional, but I'm bringing up real issues that are true, and I'm just having to speak the truth. That's how we're all going to be feeling this weekend. During an Aries full moon, you're going to be like wanting to speak the truth, and sometimes a little bluntly. So just be a little cautious because you could hurt people's feelings if you're not careful.
It almost reminds me of the retrograde, because communication is key. And a lot of times we just fire things off and don't think about them.
And we're still kind of, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, we're still in the shadow of Mercury. We really are. And because, they say like really the end of September is when Mercury leaves its shadow, and we're right here at the end. So once we're really still affected, and this happened last night. I had an event that I did with some other astrologers, and it was at a planetarium. There was, we were told to show up at a certain time. We were told they would have a plug-in, we'd have Wi-Fi and all this stuff. I never done this event before. I go over to St. Louis, I do this thing, and I find the tables. I'm like, we were like in a tunnel of like metal. There was no Wi-Fi. My personal hotspot wouldn't even work. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have like back-to-back people coming through that are there for a big party, like 400 people. Every 15 minutes, we're doing a astrology reading for them. And I'm like, my laptop is not going to make it till 10 o'clock tonight. So anyway, they ended up getting there's nowhere to plug our phones or anything in. They figured it out, but it was a little bit of, Virgos, we don't like that. We didn't know what the heck to do. And I was a little panicked, a little worried, but Mercury retrograde, I was laughing.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and since I talked to you, I think we talked about how I was looking for a house, and during Mercury retrograde, we've made offers and they change their mind or something goes wrong.
Was property, wasn't it? We were looking at property.
Yeah, we were looking at this 8 acres, and the lady would not budge in the price at all, and we walked away and we had kind of let it go. Well, guess what? They called me the beginning of this week. The realtor she came back and decided now she's willing to go down. And I'm like, Mercury retrograde. So, Mercury goes when it goes retrograde, and then when it goes direct and it's still in shadow, it's still causing these delays and these things that you're dealing with, communication stuff with people, until it's fully out of its shadow period, is what we call it.
So, aren't we out of it? I mean, didn't that end August? Wasn't it August?
No, it ended September 15th.
Oh, my bad. It started
yeah.
August 23rd. Okay, that's why it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the shadow still kind of lingers. Is some astrologers say the end of September before we're out of it. Some, say it's like the week after. You know what I mean? I feel like it affects me a lot because we're ruled by Mercury, as Virgos. That's our ruling planet.
Now I'm looking at this. It's almost like a perfect storm, super moon, post shadow of retrograde. It's all happening all at once. That's a kind of a big deal.
This is a big deal. And then, we have all these other retrogrades that we talked to. They're still going on. Jupiter, it went retrograde in Taurus, which you talked about, which there's a lot of things on the news right now about Congress and the budget being approved and all this money stuff, which we talked about, because Taurus rules money, finance, banking, budgets, the housing market, all these things. And so I think, it's going to be affecting us till the end of December, Jupiter retrograde. And then we have Pluto still retrograde, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune. Pluto goes direct next month in October. But right now, we have a bunch of retrogrades going on right now still, which intensifies this full moon. You're absolutely right with this super moon, full moon in Aries. Yeah.
Would you say in terms of astrology or of our lives, the retrogrades, the super moon, like this time right now, is this one of the most or more impactful times in a very, very, very long time?
I think so. I feel it. I feel like a lot of people that I talk to can feel the energy, like even if they're not normally empathic or intuitive. Sure. People that I know that are kind of not, but they don't really believe in these things. They're like, Carmen, like, what is going on in the world? Like, my life is crazy. The energy, I just feel like something bad's going to happen, or I have this feeling of like anticipation. Everyone is feeling this, and what it is, it's energy and it's science, it's astronomy. I mean, it's the planets affect us whether people believe it or not, and it affects our mind, our emotions, and our mind, the mind body connection. So what we think affects our mood. So these retrogrades are making everybody, overanalyze, turn inward, kind of blocked, feel a little frustrated. And what's that going to do? That's going to cause more arguments with people, more miscommunication. People aren't going to, they have to learn to compromise. One big thing right now too, is the nodes of the moon changed, which is a big deal. Because the nodes of the moon, I think it's like 1 to 2 years, they stay in certain signs, right? So the nodes of the moon were in Scorpio and Taurus. They moved into Aries and Libra a couple months ago. So it affects the whole world. So Aries Libra energy is all about compromising relationships, balancing your own needs with your partner's needs, with other people, what you want, being self-reliant versus being in a committed relationship and letting people help you, and making agreements. It's all about compromise right now, and people have relationship karma right now. A lot of people are things are triggering their relationships, their marriages. Either they're meeting new people, they're falling in love, or they're separating, they're divorcing. There's a lot of people sharing that with me. And it's as soon as these nodes shifted into Libra and Aries, that's why, because Libra rules marriage and partnership in astrology. It rules our seventh house, which is our relationships. And then Aries rules our first house, which is our goals, our voice, our mission, like what we want. It's all about what I want. That's Aries. Like, but what about me? That's what an Aries would say. And a Libra's like, well, what about my partner? So we're learning to balance these two natures in our lives, right? In our own self and in our relationship. Just happened to me last week. I said, I need to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. And I was laughing because I'm like, this is so Libra Aries right now. Like I knew, it was and I said, I only went along with this to make you happy. And then after this whole thing happened, I'm like, man, this is such a Libra node thing. This is why it's affecting everyone. And he compromised with me. He really did. And we said, okay, we agreed. We're going to try looking for houses somewhere else. And and this is the plan. We're going to save money. No. And so we really had a good conversation. So as long as people sit down and really hash things out and do that basic good communication, which isn't cutting each other off. It's not speaking over someone. It's that basic marriage 101 class, I used to teach, which is prep, which is you hold a card, they talk, and then you listen, and then they give you the card, and then you speak. And that's what people need to do, because people they're thinking of what they're going to say to their
While
partner.
the other person is talking, like I just did.
Yeah, right. And then they miss, well, you didn't hear what I said, or you're not understanding what I meant. And so we actually hand them a piece of paper when I do marriage classes, when I, my social work job. Okay, it's your turn to speak. And then you have to repeat and I have the partner say, okay, what did you hear them say? So then they have to say, okay, what I heard you say before they can talk, right? And that's basic communication, which is really the bottom. The trouble, if you look at most situations, is the culprit in most relationship problems, right? Is communication, and and sharing what your needs are, and what you need and want, and what your partner needs and wants. And this is what everyone's feeling right now with this Aries full moon, because it's like, wait a minute, what about me? This is what Aries does. So for the next couple of days, people are going to be like, wait a minute, they haven't been helping me, or they haven't been affectionate with me, or it's going to be about that. So we need to shift and say, okay, wait a minute. It's not all about us. How can we, help our partner, or how can we communicate better to share what we need, And so it's working on that basic psychology, counseling thing, and speaking. Wow. And
maybe this astrology thing serves as a reminder to just be nicer to each other, be more respectful of each other, right?
Yes, because I tell you, I'm guilty of it. I know I do this, and it's something, that's why I love astrology, because you learn about yourself. And I know that one of my weaknesses, we all have, my moon is in Aries, and my weaknesses, sometimes I might cut someone off. Like when they're talking, I might cut them off because I'm wanting to say something, and I love to talk and communicate. So I have to wait and say, okay, I don't want to cut people off. So I'm conscious that I'm so excited to say something back, and so I have to hold it in a little bit, because I don't want to be rude, and just cut someone off. So we all have our little things with our personality that we can learn to control, and whether if someone's really stubborn, I've had, I tell my husband this, but I tell people, I'm like, man, you are so stubborn, right? And I'll tell my friends, I got friends that are very, very, I call them you're very determined. That's the word, you're self-determined. And because when they make their mind up, they're not going to change it. And I'm more easygoing, like, because Virgos, we're mutable signs. So mutable signs, can adapt easily to people, where fixed signs like Taurus and Scorpio, they get set in their ways and they're not going to change. They don't want to change. They're like, no, this is my way. But mutable signs, like Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces are the mutable signs. And we kind of adapt to people. So I told a lady the other day, I said, listen, I don't agree with you. I just don't see it the same way you do. I mean, I love you. You're my friend. It's cool, but I don't agree with you on this. And it took a lot for me to be able to do that now in my life, because I kind of know myself better. And when I was younger, I would have never did that. I never wanted to argue. I wanted peace and harmony, and I never spoke up for what I really thought. Now I do. I'm like, my Aries is out. I'm like, I'm just going to express this Aries moon. And I encourage everyone to kind of know where their moon is. Your moon is in Libra, from what I remember. So you're a peacemaker.
Yes,
Libra moon.
yes, I am.
You can help people that are fighting, see each other's perspective. Like, wait a minute, I can see what they mean, and I can understand this too. So you're a good mediator. You're a very good mediator.
Unless I'm involved in the conflict. And then there's only one way I see. Not necessarily, but
I know, right?
I'm more of I always say hashtag do the right thing. And that doesn't mean do the right thing just for yourself. It's for the greater good of everything and everybody. But when somebody goes against that and it's not making sense, like, why are you? No, it drives me crazy. It just drives me crazy.
I know. It's something with the mutable signs, I think, with Virgo and some of these energies, and Libra. I think Libra moons for sure, that we're able to kind of deal with difficult people. Like people that don't get along, they will all come in. Ever since I've always had a job, people that don't like each other or they can't get along, they're always coming in my office. And I just listen, and they'll cross paths as they come in and out of my office. They know I keep their confidence, and I give them honest feedback, like, you're not seeing this the way that I'm seeing it. I said, maybe you need to talk to them a little better and do this and that. And so I try to help people get along. That's kind of what I guess a counselor 101, kind of thing.
I feel I'm kind of the same way. Like you hit it on the peacemaker thing. I had a crazy question for you. I was thinking about the other day, not to center on Virgos, but this is it made headlines. So Bruce Springsteen canceled his tour because he has a peptic ulcer. Now, I had suffered from ulcers. Sometimes it flares back. Virgo, stress, worrier.
That's our vulnerable area, the stomach.
And he is out of Virgo by a day. I think he's like the first day of whatever the date is.
He's on the cusp. Yeah.
Right. So I wonder if there's a connection.
Oh, definitely. People that are born on the cusp are going to have health vulnerabilities of both signs. So if he's on the cusp of Virgo and Libra, he's going to have the stomach. The stomach's our vulnerable area. The digestive system and the stomach. I know so many Virgos that have the stomach thing. I'm on medication. I'm on medication for it, Steve. Acid. I had to have the whole procedure. Something wasn't right, and they scared me, and they said, you have to take this medicine because your stomach acid is out of control. So I'm like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had, a little bit of stress, so it flares up from time to time. But I thought, it's interesting how nobody's immune to it. Now, granted, Bruce may have other stomach issues and it's not fueled by stress, but based on his date of birth, I would have to believe. And then it also goes to reason, dude's worth bazillions of dollars.
I know.
What do you got to worry about?
But, and all this stuff, yeah.
but everything is relative. There's things that he worries about, maybe the quality of his tour, whatever it might be, but internalizes it within the stomach. And there he has an ulcer, and it must have been a long-standing thing to the point where he had to cancel his tour, or at least postpone it until next year.
Crazy. Well, I've seen this too with, when you have a vulnerable area, and this is just my opinion, and I don't have any evidence or research to prove this.
Sure.
But when I got the COVID vaccines, it went straight to my stomach. Straight to my stomach. The acid I had, it was upset stomach, all of the nausea. And then my mother, it affected her different. She had the sciatic nerve thing. She's a Sagittarius. They roll the hips. So I think some illnesses, some things affect our vulnerable body area. even if we're not even knowing it or stressed about something. That's where we're vulnerable. Like if you get the flu shot, like I get headaches, because I have Aries and then I have the stomach thing because I'm Virgo. So when you know your whole chart, you can see what areas of your body are vulnerable. And, it's kind of cool. In old medical books, they have Hippocrates said, a doctor that doesn't know astrology isn't a doctor, but a fool.
Wow.
Because astrology was medicine. That's how they diagnosed illness and what part of the body. It was each sun sign. And they would have the sun sign symbol in old medical books you can find online. Oh yeah, you can Google. It'll have like a draft, like a man standing there, and they'll have the ram symbol here, Taurus for the throat. Yeah, all of it. The shoulders is Taurus. Yeah.
Hippocrates knew what was going on because didn't he create the phrase "food is medicine"?
Yes. Yeah.
Food is medicine. So. And look at how impactful, look at how important that is. And we didn't pay attention to it back in the day, but yeah, whatever you put in your body, you are healing yourself or hurting yourself at the same time.
Yeah. And they said Nostradamus in some of these, he was a physician, a doctor, some of these ancient times doctors, they used astrology to diagnose and to see what was going on with people, the moon cycles. They knew all this, like all these different illnesses would affect the body differently. And they knew there was something to it. It was a science. And I don't know how we got so away from it, thinking that it's like new age. It's not. It's like it was a part of medicine, like our medical system.
Thank you for saying that. And I'll be using that next time somebody poo-poos me with, talking about astrology. How do we find you? Your website, if I recall, it's your name, right?
Yes. www.Carmen Turner-Schott, SCHOTT.com. And you can find me, my YouTube channel, Carmen Turner-Schott. You can subscribe, get notifications, Facebook, Instagram, Carmen Turner-Schott. Would love for you to follow me. And you can find all my books on my website. I have a book about the sun signs, the moon signs, the 8th and 12th houses, and they're all on my website as well, and Amazon. So would love for you to check out the moon signs, houses, and healing book. If you know your basic sun sign, you're like, I already know that. You want to know more about your emotional nature and your relationships and how you find a healing and all these things. It's in my book, and it's out there on Amazon as well.
Super cool stuff. Carmen, always great talking with you.
Thank you.
Learn a lot every time, but this time more so. Like especially the medical diagnosis back in the day using astrology. And never realized that.
Yes, we can talk about another show about the medical stuff. That'll be cool. I can go through each sign or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And speak your truth this weekend. Super moon.
Yes.
It's
Don't hold back.
It's go time. Yes. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.